Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Marketplace Leaders Panel. My name is Ali Fahim, the editor of Power Retail, and I will be your host for today's webinar. Before we jump into the session today, I would like to quickly go over a bit of housekeeping just so that everyone is all ready to go. We encourage the audience to ask a lot of questions throughout today's webinar. So if you do have questions, please pop them in the tab which is located on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will do our best to answer them at the end of the webinar. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you would know that the e-commerce landscape is far different to what it was maybe 2 years ago. And as retailers face extraordinary supply chain disruptions, plus skyrocketing demand, they're now turning to the marketplace model as their pathway to maximum e-commerce growth. And the data supports it. In 2020, marketplaces represented 62% of all online sales and are growing at the double of the rate of overall e-commerce. Today, we will discover some key strategies that the leading retailers use and follow to unlock innovative growth opportunities through the enterprise marketplace model. And in this webinar, we will identify the biggest growth opportunities for marketplaces, guidelines to ensure maximum growth while preserving brand integrity, common pitfalls, and much more. But I don't want to give everything away just now. Today, we are joined by a prestigious panel: Lawrence Greenway, the Senior Platform Strategy Consultant at APAC of Miracle, Mark Gray, the Director of Marketplaces at Click Central, and Jay Goody, the Executive Director of OneSet New Zealand. Thank you guys for joining today.
Thanks for having us.
Now, to kick things off, Lawrence, I wanted to come to you first. Given Miracle's position supporting hundreds of marketplaces globally, including significant retailers like Macy's and Best Buy, as well as Catch here in Australia, it would be really great to hear from you about how marketplaces are faring coming out of the pandemic and what some of the key learnings are for retailers in Australia and New Zealand.
Sure, yeah, thanks, Ali. And I think like you said, 2020 was a bit of an extraordinary year, and marketplaces really came out of 2020 looking a little better than some of their competitors when in the online space. So you mentioned 62% of all retail sales globally went through some form of marketplace. That grew from 58% the year before, and it's an incredibly exciting statistic for anyone who's leveraging the marketplace model already or is interested in it. I think as we look at how marketplaces are faring coming out of the pandemic now, particularly with some of the supply chain issues that have been plaguing global trade, I think marketplaces are still in a good place versus other more traditional online businesses. And that's because they simply have more flexibility. Their ability to go and immediately work with new sellers very quickly, onboard new products very quickly, means that in a world and a market where there are very limited channels through which to get the stock or products that you're looking to try and put in front of your customers, having a more flexible way to go and onboard new suppliers quickly and agree on getting products up to speed quickly is only going to stand you in good stead. And I think marketplaces are benefiting from that. If we look at Miracle's customers and then also the trend towards new marketplaces that are launching in different verticals, I think what's really, really exciting is that we've had huge marketplaces, big generalists who have selling everything, it seems, and as a result of this and the bloom of marketplace sellers that are powering those marketplaces, we're seeing verticalized propositions in different sectors, so in DIY, in fashion, in electronics, etc., that are more tailored to what customers and consumers are looking for when buying those types of products, but are still benefiting from the scale. And so we're hearing a lot from our customers on curation. We're hearing a lot around, if they have a store presence as well, how can we integrate the marketplace offering with our store offerings as well? And so it's a real maturation of, okay, we've gotten our heads around how to work with third parties at scale. How can we now bring this back down into a more curated experience that is, grounded in the real world as well as everything opens up? So really, really exciting. And yeah, I think marketplaces are doing great so far.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to see how far they've come as well in the last 5 years. So it's an exciting time, definitely. And I'd like to welcome, of course, Mark and Jay. I'd like to ask both of you about your roles and responsibilities, namely with within ClickCentral and OneSet. So what does your marketplace look like? What kind of products do you sell and who are your customers? So I'm going to start with Mark.
Hi, my name is Mark Gray, so Director of Marketplaces here at ClickCentral. And thanks everyone for joining us today. I know it's a very busy time of year, just coming off of the Cyber Week, and certainly, with the run up to Christmas, and everyone's busy. So thanks for taking time. So ClickCentral is really unique in the sense that we're taking a very different approach here in Australia, where the reality is there's an awful lot of marketplaces that have launched over the last 18 months, and it bears to that's the question, and Lawrence kind of alluded to this: is there enough marketplaces? And when we evaluated launching ClickCentral, we had to ask ourselves that, is the market saturated? Is there too many players out there? And what we found is that that's not the case. E-commerce is very, is growing by leaps and bounds. But not only that, if you can find a unique proposition and distinguish yourself from the rest of the crowd, then you will succeed. And that's what our focus has been. So ClickCentral is a full price, brand focused discoverability opportunity for merchants to come on board and really express themselves in a very different way. The majority of marketplaces out there right now in Australia are very price focused and sensitive. And whilst that's important, we found that there was a lack of opportunity for brands to really come in and own their messaging, to really own what makes them unique, what makes them a great merchant, why somebody should buy from them. Maybe they're not the cheapest, but being able to tell their story and inspire the opportunity for somebody to buy from you rather than just being 10 or 20 cents cheaper. So we've only been live for about just 4.5 months now, so we're still fairly new. Our parent company, ClickFrenzy, has been backing us, so they have an amazing database that we're able to certainly pull from. We've been very aggressively growing our own database as well, and really finding that niche here within the Australian market.
Fantastic stuff. And now I'm going to throw it over to Jay. Same question. So what does your marketplace look like? What kind of products do you sell? And who are your customers?
Thanks, Ellie, and hi everyone. I'm Jay Goody, one of the founders and directors of OneSet. We're based in Auckland, New Zealand. We were founded in about 2010, and so we've been, feels like we've been around the block a few times now. And I guess the model's changed a little bit over the years, but fast forward to now, we have a fairly wide offering. Our biggest categories are sort of homeware and apparel, and a lot of our customers are sort of focused on brand and value. So we work with approximately about 300 or so suppliers, both in sort of first party product and third party products. So and I think our customer base here, there's been quite a bit of education, I guess, over the last sort of 12 to 18 months in terms of the marketplace product. But we're sort of fairly fortunate that we've had a fairly good base of customers, good history with them, and some trust built there. So we're sort of on that journey, and sort of had a proprietary model before Miracle. So, but we're fairly new on the Miracle journey anyway, but so far so good, I guess, from a marketplace offering.
Fantastic, I love it. Now I'm going to start by discussing your marketplace business cases and the overarching strategy. So Mark, you mentioned before that ClickCentral was born out of ClickFrenzy, which we all know and love. But can you please tell us how the idea for a marketplace came about for your organization and how it fits into the overall business?
Sure. So it was interesting. ClickFrenzy obviously is well known for their flash sales event, which happened a couple times out of the year. We just came off of a big one a few weeks ago at the big ClickFrenzy November event. And what we were finding is that the database is extremely active. There's an awful lot of brands that ClickFrenzy was already working with, but we were getting feedback from those brands to say, hey, we would love to be turned on 365 days a year, not just during these flash sales events. We were also finding that the database was shopping in very unique ways. So whilst they were driving a lot of good traffic because of the discounts, something might be 50, 60, 70% off, and that would grab the attention of the customer. They'd click through to the website. And the ironic thing was they weren't necessarily converting on all the sales products. They were actually spending a lot of time on the site and buying full price products. So we did find that there was, whilst people were enticed by the discounts, there was a big appetite for discovering, in-season products that were full price. And so that really justified to us the opportunity of, saying, why not be turned on 365 days a year and continue to work with these great brands? And again, give them that platform to express themselves and to really, being able to pull in content from even social media and, things like Instagram and otherwise, where they can actually learn more about their product offering and have a lot more rich content there, rather than just sitting alongside, another merchant and just comparing on price again. So that's really where the concept was born out of. And then really uniquely identifying the fact that a lot of marketplaces out there right now are really not very curated. So they'll have what's called endless aisles, so millions and millions of products, which is great for depth and breadth, but as a customer, there's nothing more frustrating than having to filter through 50 different ways just to find the product that you're really looking for. Our focus is to have a handful of really key, great sellers in each category and subcategory, and having, instead of getting, 30,000 page results, maybe to have a couple hundred that you can, really search through, and from only merchants that are truly vetted and really good merchants. So we don't allow a lot of third-party gray products or parallel imports. We're really focused on Aussie merchants and brand owners, and that's really unique as well, building that customer trust. You may have seen, certainly Ali and everyone in the news just a couple of days ago, the likes of, Wish.com as an example has now been essentially shut off in France, and they're looking to be shut down in other countries as well because of that loss of trust. Having products that may not be, certainly genuine. And we're trying to counter that and say, no, let's give that back to the customer to have that assurance that they're getting the product that they've asked for, that they're getting it from a vetted merchant that is trustworthy, and they're going to get it in a timely fashion as well.
Yeah, it's really important to prioritize quality over quantity. So fantastic stuff. And now I'm actually going to throw it over to Jay. So Onset has operated a marketplace for many years with a homegrown solution, and recently it chose to transition from that into the Miracle Marketplace platform. So I was wondering, what led Onset to that decision, and how your e-commerce ambitions changed as a result of this move?
In terms of, it was probably a glorified dropship model that we built up over about 3 years, but really it came out of just some context. It came out of a logistics problem, which was a few of our furniture suppliers or homeware suppliers had furniture that they wanted to sell through us. And every time you touch furniture, there's sort of, it compounds the cost of goods. So it really came out of that, solving that problem. And then so we built a fairly basic sort of platform for a couple of furniture suppliers so they could send it direct to customers. That ended up being really, really successful, and we still work with a lot of those people today. And then I guess fast forward, some of the apparel brands, and I guess to Mark's point, some of the brands that we work with are fairly, they're protective of their brand and their inventory and how it's represented. So they wanted to do a version of it so they could kind of control the narrative, control the stock that was on our site, and it was a lower margin product for them as well. So we ended up onboarding. We got to about 150 sellers on there from over the course of a couple of years, from the furniture guys up into apparel and footwear and whatnot. And then we realized not quickly, actually, it took a while to realize that this was a really complicated problem to solve. So yeah, the technical aspect of trying to sync, thousands or millions of products in a real-time scenario, and then get the customer really great end result, in-mile delivery. That's kind of hard to do at scale. So that's when we started looking for somebody who's got a few more developer resources than we do. So so we signed up for Miracle, I think 31st of December, so nearly a year ago. We sort of went live, soft launch around August. So
fantastic. So just wondering how your e-commerce ambitions have changed since working with Miracle, and just want to elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, I think what it's given us is probably a good foundation for growth. So we had this Achilles heel of our technical ability to onboard some sellers that wanted to work with us, and we couldn't really facilitate some of those seller onboarding processes. So yeah, it's given us a really great foundation that we know that we can grow on. We know that from a customer perspective, most importantly, they get a really transparent kind of experience, and yeah, I guess it gives us a bit of a confidence, and it's an investment that the directors wanted to pursue, and we think there's some fairly good scalability for the model. So yeah, whilst it's an investment, we're sort of we think the ceiling is a lot bigger than what we're currently doing. So particularly in our market.
Fantastic, wonderful. Now I'm going to throw it back over to Mark. You have had a lot of experience when it comes to marketplaces. You've been at the leading edge of marketplaces for several years. You've worked at Catch in the early days of its marketplace initiative, and as well as the Market.com in New Zealand. As you started to build out the marketplace strategy for Click Central, what were 2 or 3 key learnings that you would bring from your previous experiences?
Yeah, so definitely, we were able to launch the Click Central marketplace in probably record time. I'm not sure if it's a global record, but literally in under 90 days, we were able to launch the marketplace and bring on hundreds of merchants and hundreds and thousands of products. And we've been able to do that with Miracle, ironically, as well. Full disclosure, launched Catch just well over 4 years ago using the Miracle platform. At the Market.com, they have their own bespoke platform, which is really great as well. So was able to kind of learn from both of those experiences, and decided to go back with Miracle to launch Click Central because it is what we found the best in class of being able to launch merchants very quickly, effectively. As an example, in the last 6 weeks, we've increased our SKU count by over 40% with the run up to the holidays. And we wouldn't have been able to do that with other platforms. So that's worked really well for us. But some key takeaways on learnings that we've had, and it's important for all of you on the call right now that are merchants to consider, is some of the best learnings has been, again, focusing back on that uniqueness. So many of you on this call may already be on marketplaces or considering it. Many of you may be on multiple marketplaces. The key takeaway there is, I would say view marketplaces not just as a sales channel, but really focus on making it a marketing channel. And again, that goes back to not just pushing your products up and trying to discount all the time. Discounting is important throughout the year and the calendar, but again, really focusing on the marketplace and allowing it to be a huge marketing channel for you. And it can be the most cost-effective way for you to get your brand out there. Marketplaces typically don't charge for listing products. You only get charged when products sell. But on your behalf, they're doing a really great job, and we aggressively focus on that here at Click Central as well, of promoting your brand on your behalf. And so it's a really great way for your brand to get out there at very little to no cost, again, until products sell. So really use marketplaces as a marketing channel and to create that uniqueness. The other focus for us that we found as well is it's not just about conversion. Conversion is important, but it's that time on site. The focus for us and the learnings have been, I'd much rather have somebody come on and spend 4, 5, 6 minutes on the site rather than, maybe on another marketplace they may come in and do a one-step checkout and just buy the product. And in a lot of cases, forget the next day, it arrives on their front porch and like, what did I order? They don't even remember what they ordered. So, we want it to be an experience, and that's something we've learned as well. We want it to be an experience where there's that anticipation and run up to getting the product, but remembering what you bought, and the reason why you bought it, and that inspirational piece.
Absolutely. I think I've had that a couple of times where it's like shopping amnesia. Completely forgot what I've ordered, shows up the next day, and it's a nice little surprise from me to me, so love it. But yes, completely agree. It's all about the experience and wanting to go back over and over again. So I love that advice that you've given as well. So one of the crucial best practices for an enterprise marketplace is to embrace the concept of curation at sale, making sure that you are offering an experience that stays true to your brand DNA without compromising on the scale that characterizes the best marketplace experience. So Jay, I'm going to throw this over to you. How do you approach the assortment strategy for your marketplace to strike that balance?
Yeah, I think we're learning. I mean, we're constantly learning and kind of getting data feedback from what works and what doesn't. And I guess to Mark's point, yeah, if you have the wider your range, the harder it is to merchandise on the site and actually sort of dish up what people are after. So it's a really complicated problem to solve. And I guess with for our particular environment, we're dealing with first-party product and third-party product. So the buyers are they have a pretty strong view about competing against third-party product, right? And rightly so. But I think for the customer, if putting my customer hat on, if we can sort of give the customer the best outcome, whether it be range or maybe price as a consideration in terms of our market, then I think that natural competition between first party and third party products should work itself out over time, and that's sort of what we're betting on. We've been sort of packaging up a lot of our I guess assortments and merchandising just done by brand, because that's how our customers like to shop, and then by category. So we've been kind of packaging up various different ways to get it in front of people and for a number of years. So that's just a natural extension when we're extending range. But yeah, it's certainly not. It can add a lot of complexity if you're, we've sort of been doing a version of this for a few years, and it can add a lot of complexity if you go from 0 to 100 really quickly, trying to merge those two messages, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mark, identifying and onboarding trusted high-quality sellers is another critical component of curation at scale. What does that process look like to Click Central?
Yeah, so key thing for us has been turning on a lot of our what I'd call channel partners, and those are integration partners. So making sure that was really key for us to launch as quickly as we did with as many products. That's working with third-party providers that can help. They can take a merchant which has thousands and thousands of products and really make sure that the data feed is accurate. That's key for marketplace. You can have a ton of products, but if the data is not correct, if you don't have good imagery, all those great descriptions, reviews, all of that, then it's really for naught. So you really have to focus on that. So those partners have been key for us. The other aspect of that is really focusing on allowing the message to get out there as far as being a local player. And I know certainly Once It does a really good job of this. New Zealand, for us here at Click Central, is really putting that more circular economy hat on and saying, hey, we are a locally supported marketplace. Here in Australia, we support and really focus on local brands and merchants. And we're going to give you the best customer experience, and taking into account that circular economy again of environmental impacts of what's actually if you take like the Amazon approach as an example, they do a great job of delivering products quickly. However, what's the impact of that? If you have flex cars driving all over the city for one parcel, what's the impact of that? So really taking a step back and saying, how do we share that story with our customers and give value and a great experience without the cost of the environment, while supporting those local sellers and merchants.
Fantastic. Now, Lawrence, sorry we've been kind of ignoring you a little bit here, but from your perspective, how can marketplace operators set themselves up for success with curation at scale?
So I think a lot of the and it's been really interesting. I've just been writing down some notes. What Jay and Mark have been talking about has summed it up in a way quite nicely, because I think what Mark was talking about not just having a marketplace for marketplace sake, but looking at how marketplace can impact the wider group strategy. So with a classic customer arriving on a marketplace product and then shopping full price first party product is a dream scenario for a lot of retailers who I imagine will be on the call. And that's a really important part of this, is ensuring that the marketplace or dropship program or whatever it is you're operating, those third-party products are really married in with what you as a retail company are really trying to provide to your customers. and it should accelerate the other parts of your strategy as well. That's what this model is all about. And so I think that's a really important part, is not just having it as something separate, but really ensuring that it is fueling other parts of the business as well to maximize success. The next one, I think, is on that customer experience point. So you're working with third parties. It's not as smooth as if you have control over everything yourself. There are advantages to that, but there are also going to be some challenges. And so having ways to ensure that your third party partners are giving the experience that your customers expect, whether it's delivery, whether it's pricing, Mark was talking about imagery as well. I think that's super important. And so having ways to ensure that quality is maintained is going to be critical to the first point around tying it into the wider strategy. And then what Jay was talking about, and I think is quite interesting here in Australia and New Zealand as well, is that it's quite a limited product. The products can come from a long way away, and then once they're in the country, those are the products that are here. And so you have to be flexible in the types of partners that you're able to work with in order to get that differentiated product mix that you're looking for. And so having different ways and different methods for engaging with sellers who are more sophisticated and more mature on their digital capabilities, but then also sellers who are perhaps less sophisticated. Having the ability to work with both is going to enable you as a team to build an assortment that's going to be really compelling and differentiated for any customer. And I think that's a key point, is how can you as a retailer, using your third parties, differentiate and create a unique value proposition that is going to be compelling for your customers. So I think that those are the key points. And when it comes to curation, if you get those three elements right, you're going to be able to get a really curated but also scalable marketplace business that's aligned with the wider strategy of the company.
Fantastic. Now I'm just looking at the time. We're getting a little bit, it's stressing me out a bit, but it's okay. Speaking of third parties, bringing third-party sellers onto your website gives you even more insights about your customers, which then can inform your overall e-commerce strategy, but first party included. So Jay, what are some of the ways that OneSet is using its marketplace data to inform other parts of the business?
Yeah, there's certainly no shortage of data, particularly as you grow width of product range and suppliers. I think we're fairly new in terms of, we have, like, some of our BI tools are fairly not that sophisticated right now with the Miracle platform. Our old platform, we sort of spent a number of years building that out. And I think, like, of course, we're looking at the data and making decisions based on it. It's not, I know that Amazon has gotten a little bit of trouble on this in the past, I think. So I think we're more looking at it going, hey, what categories do we want to play in, and what categories don't we want to play in, and letting there's some categories in terms of first party we've decided now this is much more efficient and much more better use of capital to be run through marketplace, and they're doing a better job by all accounts. So there's some categories that we've made decisions on like that. But then, little insights from very early on was like furniture being the first sort of category that we looked at. People buying a $10,000 couch online, we just never thought that was going to be the case. We just didn't think that our customers would be that confident to do that. And fast forward kind of 4 years, those little bits of data that you get along the way has helped us make sort of strategic moves along the way. So yeah, it's we're kind of fortunate, so we have a fairly good audience base and a fairly good traffic base. So we've got good browse data, and obviously the key data is the orders. But yeah, we had fairly good browse data to sort of get a critical mass of some of that as well from day one. So.
Wonderful. Love data. It's fantastic. And speaking of data, now we are at the fun part, which is the results. So to Mark and to Jay, marketplaces offer qualitative benefits, so agility, speed, flexibility, so on, in addition to the quantitative ones. So how are each of you defining and measuring the measure of success of your marketplace? I will throw it over to Mark to start with.
Yeah, so again, it's been exciting times. We're still in our infancy again, only just over 4 months old. So to Jay's point as well, there's an awful lot of incoming information that we have to kind of slice and dice. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but ClickCentral is we're a marketplace that only works with third-party merchants, so we don't buy products in ourselves. So what our focus is, because we have all this data, is to really share it with the merchants, and so we're going to start rolling that out as some new initiatives. But as far as qualitative focus that we have is really around where we can help our merchants expand to. So some exciting news that we had announced over the last couple of weeks and months. We actually acquired a business out of New Zealand called Grab One a couple months ago, and so very shortly we're going to be able to, literally with a click of the button, be able to offer our merchants here in Australia the ability to launch into New Zealand as well. And part of that qualitative information is, being able to share that with the merchants and saying, hey, maybe not all of your products are going to be a good fit for the New Zealand market. Perhaps there's logistical problems because the products are too big or bulky, but being able to share those insights with them directly back, and that's going to showcase, the success that they've had here locally and to expand that. And the second announcement was our partnership with Vicinity Group, who's one of Australia's largest shopping mall centers and owners. So that partnership with them is going to be interesting from a quantitative point of view as well, to be able to share now an omni channel opportunity and approach. So being able to share with those merchants what's happening on our marketplace, but then to be able to combine that with the digital experience in store, not just with click and collect, but a full digital channel. So that's really what we're marking ourselves against, and the high aspirations that we have.
Wonderful stuff. Jay, I'm going to ask you the same question. So how is OneSit defining and measuring the success of a marketplace?
Yeah, I think we're sort of transitioning a lot of our sellers from the old our old platform to the new platform, and that's probably another 6 months or so away from getting that all done. But yeah, I think we care pretty deeply of how our sellers have found the experience and how they are trading, and what objectives they're trying to hit. But so yeah, there's a number of our sellers that are sort of in the, I just had a quick look earlier, that are sort of in the 6 figures now, and most of them are sort of new in terms of run rates per month. So that's been really encouraging, seeing some sellers do quite well. And yeah, I think we're running in, for the Miracle side, about 65% of the sellers on our Miracle platform are new sellers, and I think we don't really share our GMV to everyone, but we're in the sort of run rate in the 7 figures on that platform, and I think we've probably got another 100 or so sellers from the old platform to move across. So yeah, super encouraging to see some of those sellers getting some meaningful results. And yeah, as I said, I think as we sort of iron out some of the kinks, there's a lot more upside, and we haven't fully sort of put the foot down yet, but yeah, some good early signs so far.
Fantastic. Now, obviously, it's early days for both of your marketplaces. So can you share some of your results since launching with your audience? Again, I'll throw it over to Mark to start this one off.
Yeah, again, because we're so new, I could certainly throw out stats of, 1,000,000% growth week on week, day on day, because when you're new, it's obviously you're seeing those type of numbers. But, from a, can't share exact GMV numbers, but we have, when we look at our top 20 merchants as an example, we have been seeing month-on-month growth and sometimes in the 300, 400 percentiles. That's not necessarily going to be uncommon coming into the Christmas period, but I think the more successful things that we want to look at outside of just sales, because sales are important, but it's that going back to people actually visiting their storefronts and their products. So what we have seen an increase of as we've rolled out things like focused brand pages and storefront pages is the amount of time that people are not only spending on site, but on individual products. So we've seen that increase from an average of just about 1.5 minutes when we first launched, and about 4 to 5 clicks. We're now seeing an average of about 15 to 20 clicks on different products, people shopping around a lot more, and around, again, in roughly about 6 to 7 minutes on site, which is really increased the average cart size as well. So we've gone from an average of about 1.2 products now to upwards of just shy of under 3 products per cart checkout, which is really great, and that's beneficial to our customers as well. If they're able to pick and pack 3 or 4 products instead of just one, that's a much better experience for them as well.
Absolutely, and considering how young Click Central is, it's great to see this growth already. So I'm going to actually throw this question over to Jay as well. Can you share some of the results since launching with our audience?
Yeah, I guess to reiterate what I said before, what else can I share? Yeah, I mean, we measure. Yeah, we have a bunch of different measures from the seller side, as I mentioned, and I guess the ratios so far have been pretty good, and those we have probably a good dozen or so sellers doing pretty meaningful trade, which has been encouraging, you know, considering we're kind of like 2 or so months in. So yeah, pretty early days, but I think with sort of the pipeline that we can see and the customer adoption of it, it looks like there's a lot of growth opportunity there. So
wonderful, fantastic stuff. Now, Lawrence, what are some of the other metrics that you would suggest marketplace operators look at to understand marketplace success?
So I think the most important one's been highlighted by what Jay and Mark have been talking about, which is the sellers. So if we break it down into metrics, encouraging a good GMV per seller is extremely important. It doesn't matter how many sellers you onboard, if none of them sell any of their products, they're not going to be around for much longer. And so encouraging good GMV and good GMV growth per seller it should be a focus for any marketplace. You know, and the more good sellers you can onboard who are bringing a good product range and are helping you to deliver the assortment and experience that you want your customers to have. You know, if you're able to encourage GMV growth, and each time you onboard a new seller, they are effective in selling their products, that's the dream scenario for any marketplace. If we look outside of that GMV per seller metric, because that's going to drive your top line, I think what's super important is setting good ambitions early in the project, because oftentimes we see marketplaces, and particularly if it's a traditional retailer who is moving towards or adding a marketplace model, it's sort of a test it and see approach. That's great, but I think what's really important is ensuring that you set strong ambitions for that marketplace, because that's going to inform how you resource the team that's going to go out and find those sellers for you. That's going to help you to drive scale. If you set too lower ambitions at the start of the project, you're going to handcuff yourself to a lower scaling business than if you set good, strong ambitions for it overall. So I think setting strong ambitions, we're seeing the likes of, if we look outside and look at companies like Zalando, who have transitioned over the last few years towards marketplace, they're setting ambitions of 40+% marketplace share. Amazon's over 60 now. So it's these kind of numbers which marketplaces should be looking at in general. And then we talked about some of the other ones. What are some of those other impacts that marketplace will have on your existing business? So think about it as a halo effect of, if you're bringing more customers on from marketplace products and they're shopping your existing range, what's that impact? What can you expect there? We see some retailers seeing 3 to 5% bumps up in their existing range from those types of customers. So yeah, I think setting good top lines, driving good GMV per seller growth, and identifying where else marketplace is touching your business and providing the uplifts, but also potentially where it might impact around things like cannibalization. I think it's important to look at that too. But yeah, in general, that GMV per seller is the golden metric that every marketplace should be focusing on.
And Ali, just to jump on there on top of that, I think one important thing that I forgot to mention earlier is just what Lawrence was saying as well, like give yourself the best chance of success. So we do see a lot of merchants that'll come on and they'll say, oh, I just want to test this marketplace. So they'll give they'll only give us 10 products out of the 1,000 products they have. And that's, you get what you put into it, is what I'm saying. So give the full suite of product offering that you have, because oftentimes you'll surprise yourself. But if you only go in with 10 products, probably not going to sell very much. So give it a proper go. If you're going to come on to Marketplace, give them the full suite of products and go at it hard.
Fantastic. Great bits of advice from all of you. Now we are running out of time, so I have a couple of extra questions to Mark and Jay. Having both launched and relaunched in the past few months, what's something unexpected that you've learned along the way? And what's one thing that you wish you knew from the very beginning? So I'm going to start this time with Jay.
Yeah, I think we had some learnings from our old platform for sure, and we had learned the hard way in some ways, trying to forge our own path there. But it's refreshed my memory a little bit, just gone through it all with the team, that the education piece to customers, I'm assuming people who are attending are probably either looking to do a marketplace or sell on them, but the education piece to customers, particularly if you're changing the parameters of the products that you're selling and where they're coming from, for instance. So the education piece, the transparency piece to customers is super important. Over communicating, so we're trying to, every touch point that they have, we're trying to like over communicate the lead times and over communicate when they should expect their parcels and all the different steps. It seems a little bit overkill sometimes, but yeah, from our experience, the more we can do that, the better the customer feels about it. So we're kind of relearning that again as we relaunched Miracle and figuring out the new platform. But that's really critical, and we had a slight advantage that we were coming in with a fairly good audience and a fairly good trust. They could return locally, they could call up customer service and all those sort of things. But even still, it's a big job to kind of get the customers fully in the cycle of, I can buy this and I can buy this and I'm gonna get multiple shipments and so on and so forth. So that's been challenging and good to do that all over again, I think.
Absolutely, and I love the idea of being almost too communicative with the customers. I think that it's obviously a better alternative than having no communication at all. So kudos to you guys. And Mark, I'm going to ask you the same question as well. So what is one of the unexpected learnings that you've had along the way? And what's something that you wish you knew from the start?
Yes, I think that the biggest thing, and this is across my marketplace experience, is being surprised of what will actually sell. And I know, Jay alluded to a $10,000 couch as one example on their side, but it is interesting what people, especially nowadays, coming out of being more comfortable shopping online, and certainly coming out of lockdowns and such. But they will buy products. You'll surprise yourself, and not just at necessarily low price points, but high price points. So there's a bigger trust factor nowadays that we didn't have before. One of my favorite examples to this is when we launched Catch a number of years ago. The top selling products within the first couple of weeks were actually mannequin heads. So there were mannequin heads that, there was a third party merchant from a salon that had mannequin heads that they were selling, and that was one of the top sellers. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that would have been the case, but so you will surprise yourself of what sells. But it's really also, what I wish I would have been more attuned to, and what we've learned is kind of what you focused on a second there, Jay, as well as that over communication piece. I think there was a little bit of anxiety, as an example, a couple months ago when Australia Post, announced these huge delays with parcels coming. There was certainly a fear on our team and our side of like, oh my goodness, this is going to be an absolute nightmare, disaster. Customers are going to be all upset because let's face it, at the end of the day, they blame the marketplace when something goes wrong. It could totally be out of our control, but they will blame the marketplace. But the surprising thing there was, by over communicating, by actually reaching out to every customer proactively, letting them know like, hey, there are delays, this is reality, and making sure that they had that tracking and that they were on top of where their order was. Customers were surprisingly understanding and helpful. So it really goes back to that communication piece of, be open and honest with the customers and say, you know what, it's a reality. We're all living in a new world. And that's going to go much further than probably anything else. So that's been a surprise to us. Shouldn't have been a surprise. You know, it's probably something pretty standard, you would think, but yeah, give customers the chance. They'll buy some random stuff from you, but they'll also be very accommodating when challenges do arise.
Again, I completely agree. Yeah, I think that consumers have become increasingly aware of issues with logistics at the moment. So the more open and honest you are, the more understanding they are as well. So, and it's better than being left in the dark. So again, kudos to you guys. So I have one more question for both Jay and Mark to close us out. Could you please give us a glimpse of the future? What's next for Click Central? And what about OneSet's marketplace? So Jay, I'm going to ask you, what's next for OneSet?
Just unmute myself. Yeah, we're super excited about the new platform, and about, you know, we think it's a solid foundation to grow on, and we feel confident that we can grow it at scale, and it's not going to break like our custom one. So I think that gives us some assurity, and so we've sort of built a plan for the next 2-3 years, and what that looks like. And I guess trying to stay super close to the customer and pivot as we go. But yeah, what that will look like is you know, onboarding new sellers and new categories that our customers are showing interest in, and yeah, and hopefully kind of taking a whole bunch of sellers along the way, and you know, becoming a meaningful player in this space in New Zealand. I think we have sort of the opportunity to do that here. So with our customer base. So yeah, we're super excited, and yeah, very grateful that we made the decision to switch and put our foot down, so to speak.
It's a really exciting time for Miracle and for OneSet as well. So we're excited to see what happens next. And Mark as well, final question. What is next for Click Central?
Yeah, so I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, but, you know, super exciting times. You know, obviously, being in our infancy as a marketplace, we are, you know, going 100 miles an hour to get to the next stages. So imagine a world literally as early as next year where you're going to be able to come on Click Central, launch your products easily on the marketplace and have success, but then being able to turn on a whole new country, a whole new you know, opportunity within Grab One, within New Zealand. So literally with the tick box, being able to ship overseas and open up an additional 2 million plus customers straight away. And then also off the back of that, being able to open up that omni-channel opportunity within, you know, our partnership with the Vicinity Group. So having effectively a physical and online opportunity through a single data feed that you send to us, and being able to expose your brand to many more millions of Australians, and to be able to, again, use this as a genuine marketing channel, not just a marketplace that you're converting, which is important, but again, being able to really put your efforts into expanding the awareness of your brand in partnership with us. So it's a whole new world that we're walking into. We're happy to bring you guys on that journey, and it's going to be amazing 2022.
And I can't wait to see it. It's going to be fantastic. Totally agree. Unfortunately, we have actually run out of time. We have gone over time. We had a few questions from the audience, but they will be sent. If we didn't get time to answer any of your questions, these questions will be sent to all of the speakers in today's panel, and they will get back to you when it's best for them. So I want to thank Lawrence, Jay, and Mark for taking part in today's webinar. I think that this has been a fantastic session. I've learned a lot of stuff, and I hope that everyone in the audience has too. And I also want to thank everyone in the audience for joining today. Again, if you have a question, we didn't get time to answer it, we will reach out to you as well. So thank you everybody for joining us. I hope you all have a fantastic Thursday, and we'll see you at the next webinar.
Thanks, Ali. Thanks everyone for joining.
Everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.